Hello and welcome to the Time for AI podcast, the podcast that brings you the best AI conference speakers and invites them to sum up their presentation in 5 minutes. I'm the host, Peter, and I'm very glad that we have with me today Jason Schemel. Hello and welcome to the podcast.
Peter, thank you so much for having me.
Same here. I'm also very glad to have you on the podcast. How is the day? You're located somewhere near the Great Lakes. Are they starting to freeze? Do Great Lakes ever freeze over?
They do if it ever gets cold enough. So I'm in Michigan, so we have the state that looks like our hand. So I get to tell people I live like right there, and then if you look on a map, you can see the general area of where I am. But if the winters get cold enough, the lakes do freeze over, but that would have to be pretty cold. We haven't had that in a while.
Yeah, we're actually just starting. Yeah. Um, Jason, you work at the Get Social Done, a marketing agency that helps companies do great marketing. Tell us a bit about what you do there. So, what's the company and what do you do there?
Sure. Yeah. So we're a full service digital marketing agency. So we offer a wider range of services to help businesses pretty much of every size. Like our promise is to deliver Fortune 500 results through marketing at small business prices. So if you need Google, Facebook ads done, website optimization, blogging, SEO, email marketing, pretty much anything you can think of, we have the team to help you out.
How did you get into SEO and marketing? I'm asking this because my background, for the last 20 years, I've been an SEO consultant. I've moved into AI and using large language models now, but it sort of seemed that we have SEO in common. How did you get into that?
In all honesty, it was kind of by accident. I've been in marketing for 14 years. And I first got started, it was just following other people in the area and just seeing what they were doing. They were sharing information and just sharing tidbits and learnings of what they got from it. And for me, I've always had a passion around helping others understand complex things. So like consumer psychology is a major passion and interest of mine. It's always trying to figure out what makes people interested or click on one thing rather than another. And same thing with like headlines and ads and content and all of that stuff. So when I first started mimicking these people, sharing articles and sharing my 2 cents out of it or the value that people could get out of it, I started having people reaching out to me saying like, hey, you kind of have a knack for this. Have you thought about doing this professionally? I'm like, not really, but I like the idea. So I started going into it and yeah, spent 11 years in corporate and now doing my own thing. And yeah, it's been fun.
And of course, I've invited you to this podcast because you had a presentation at an AI conference. So how did you start implementing AI into your workflows, and how are you now? How big and important that is a part of a marketing right now?
Yep. So AI is an amazing space to be in right now because you think, and this kind of goes back to my presentation. You think back in the days of the internet when it wasn't a household thing or a regular tool that businesses use, and now we're at the point where if your business or your brand, whatever your organization doesn't have an internet presence, you basically don't exist. If someone can't look you up online, you don't exist to them. So, and now we're starting to get into this era of AI too, where if you don't utilize AI in some capacity, you're going to start getting left in the dust by others who are using it because it's such a time saver, depending on
Mm.
the multitude of different tasks. Doesn't matter if it's just one task or several. It can be a massive time saver in terms of like ideation, figuring things out, competitor research, all different kinds of things. And so I started getting into it because a lot of the people that I follow and a lot of close friends of mine who are very successful agency owners and business owners, they started getting into like the chat GPTs, Claudes, Perplexities, and they started, and again, they started talking about the value they were getting from it. And I just started thinking, if they're getting this kind of value out of it, I should probably think about doing it too. And then I started going through it and I'm like, holy smokes, there's so much to this. And it can be overwhelming at first because it's really hard to get an idea of where to start. But it's one of those things where the more you use it, the more you anticipate the responses you're going to get back, the more detail you give it, the better it's going to be. And it's just through repetition that it gets better.
We're recording this on the 23rd of October. Did you see the new and the exciting today's news about Cloud and Anthropic? the new model of anthropic AI that is now able to control the computer, so it moves mouses and copy paste
Oh,
data and stuff like that. Go and check this out.
I have not heard
This
that.
broke like I think it broke like in the last 12 hours. It's
Okay.
really great. It's just it moves the mouse and does everything by itself. This is going to be another next step in
Oh,
AI, I believe.
I
But
know.
yeah.
AI is moving so fast with all of the capabilities. I mean, you think just not even 2 years ago, ChatGPT was just starting to become
Hmm.
like a household name and that kind of stuff. And yeah, look where we are now doing it. It can take over computers now. Just
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
scary to think about, but
It's very interesting to think about. Yeah. And, I
right.
well, at the beginning, I wanted to start, or I still have like a news website about the news in AI. And even
Mhm.
with using AI to generate that content, there is just so much going on. It's more or less impossible to cover everything, right?
Right.
As you said, so many new things coming up every day. So I invited you to the podcast because you had a presentation at the Grow with AI Summit, a 3-day summit that is actually still going on. You were there
Yes.
you were scheduled at the first day with your presentation that was cool. That was called "Applicable AI Tools and Tactics That Businesses Can Use in Their Marketing." So,
Mhm.
Jason, here are your 5 minutes to tell us what your presentation was about.
Fantastic. Yep. So primary primarily what it was talking about is the use of Perplexity and Claude itself. So we have large language models that the ChatGPTs, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, and Perplexity. Those are the big ones that a lot of people know and use regularly. And so a lot of people that I've worked with and a lot of clients that I've worked with have like they've been a little afraid of it. They're not quite sure what to get out of it and outside of just asking it a few questions here and there. And so through other keynotes, through other presentations, through other projects that I've worked on, I've started testing, kind of pushing the boundaries a bit, figuring out what we can do, what is possible with AI and everything. And I found out that especially through Perplexity, it's an amazing research tool where ChatGPT and Claude are very conversational. You ask it a question, you get a response kind of thing. With Perplexity, not only do you get that, but it will also search the internet for additional content and resources and apply that to its response that it gives back to you. And then it sources each line of it. So if you're asking it a specific question, like maybe for marketing, you're looking for like the top 10 trending topics in your industry or niche or something like that, it's going to go out and scour 10 to 15 different pieces of content over YouTube, Reddit, the internet, and all different kinds of websites, and then it's going to give you this bulleted list. And for each one of those, it's going to cite the source for each one. So if there's an idea that you really like and maybe you want to look into it a bit more, you can click on that number where it's cited and it'll take you right to that page, which is really cool. So not only do you have, not, I mean, for me, not only has it overtaking Google searches, like I don't even search on Google anymore because now that feels like an added step. I have to ask the question. I then have to go through all of the Google ads, the sponsored posts first, and then go through, read all of the headlines. And then you're pretty much guessing at this point, like, will this article answer my question? Will that one? I'm not sure. Now I can just ask Perplexity and it might still aggregate and pull all of those in together, but then it'll put it all together and go, based off of all of the information that we've read, here's the best response for your query or your prompt. And so one of the other things I covered in the presentation was that, especially with AI, it's so widely used now by a lot of people, and it's only growing. It's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get better. It's to trust the response that it gives you, but verify as well, because AI is not perfect. If you look at any AI generated images, video, anything like that, you can usually see some blemishes. Someone may have like 6 or 7 fingers, something like that, and it looks great. The response may make sense and everything, but make sure that you do your due diligence and don't just copy and paste that into like a blog article or your social media or something like that, because you want to make sure that it's still genuine to yourself. So where I use a lot of AI is again to help ideate and to come up with ideas and also to help save me time. So even if I'm writing content or I'm writing copy for ads and things like that, I can still ask AI to help put all of that stuff together. But then I'm still going to go through and go, okay, this sounds great. I'm going to update this part. I want to use this wording, this type of tonality. So that way at least sounds like me or my client's tone and voice, and go about it that way. And then a couple of other things that were really interesting that I presented about was some of the other different capabilities that these tools like Perplexity and Claude can do. So Claude has had it for a little while with Claude projects. Perplexity just came out with their version called Spaces, and what this allows you to do is to upload multiple documents of resources. It can be PDFs, videos, transcripts, anything like that, that it can then use as its knowledge base. And it can pull that information when you're asking it questions and prompts and things like that. So, one of the examples I used was earlier this year, I gave a keynote for a restaurant chain down in Louisiana. And they gave me just two documents to work off of. I just asked them, like, any information that you can give me so that I can show you the power of AI, that would be great. And so the two documents they gave me was a quarterly statement of their labor costs, and then a quarterly statement of their sales just for that same quarter. And so I'm like, all right, I was hoping for a little bit more info, but that's okay. I'm going to take what I have and run with it. So I uploaded it into Perplexity and asked it, okay, analyze all of this data that I just gave you, and then give me just focusing on the data that I gave you. Because I want to make sure to make that clear, like just use the info I gave you. Give you the top 5 things that we should focus on to improve business operations, increase sales, decrease costs, and maybe come up with some marketing ideas. And less than a minute later, it gives me 10 ideas just right there. And one of the things I noticed in its responses was that it focused a lot on the morning shift labor. There was a lot of discrepancies. Some people were staying late. Some people were getting let go early for their shift. And so that gave me the idea to prompt it further, like going a bit further down that rabbit hole and ask it, I've noticed that the AM shifts tend to have a lot of discrepancy and there's a lot of cause for cost compared to the sales. Like it doesn't quite balance the way it should. So I said, can you create for me a schedule or a document that would help us better balance that or better utilize our morning labor in concordance with our sales? And then another minute later, it gives me 5 more ideas. Here's how you can optimize that. And so, yeah, within like 5 minutes, I've now identified ways that they can improve business operations, increase sales, decrease costs, and so I brought it to the client and said, hey, here are some ideas. Not saying do this, but here are some ideas. See if it makes sense for your restaurants, and then you can apply it from there. They may edit it, they may change it just a little bit or pivot slightly, but I've at least given them some ideas that they can go off of that they hadn't considered yet. And that's the amazing part about AI.
All right. Excellent. Yeah. I mean, that's the idea of it gives you results that you don't really even know that you're going to need, or in a way that you don't even understand that you want it to have it in that way. That's the thing that I get surprised again and again with. When you talk about Perplexity and Claude, and then compare that to ChatGPT, because of course ChatGPT has the most of the buzz, or is most known.
Yep.
Is ChatGPT with its functionalities on searching the internet getting close to the results that Perplexity is doing? Or, my question is Perplexity going to disappear once ChatGPT gets a bit better with analyzing the internet?
I mean, that's a really good question. Honestly, I would have thought by now GPT would have taken more steps to challenge Perplexity and their market share of internet search large language model AI. But they haven't yet. At least I haven't seen it yet. So, I mean, it's certainly possible. You would think with how popular ChatGPT is and the amount of support and funding that they have behind them, that they would be able to do it pretty soon. But I haven't seen it yet, and Perplexity is only getting better themselves. So it might be a case of ChatGPT is just focusing on other things. Or like, we're going to let Perplexity do its thing, and we're going to focus on what we're really good at, which is, at least in my opinion, helping people create custom GPT. So if there's a very specific thing or a very specific task that you want to tackle, someone might have already created a custom GPT that can help guide you conversationally through all of that, and GPT is great for that. But in terms of like internet searches and aggregating information and giving you a good condensed response, Perplexity is tops for me, no question.
Until we get Search GPT, if we ever get it, right?
Right, exactly.
With the announcements that we're always wait for the tools. What about Cloud? How does Cloud fit into? I'm not really that using it. So how does it fit into the whole universe of large language models, and how do you use it?
Mhm. So for me, where Claude really stands out is if you want to really feel like you're having a conversation with a bot, and you can you're almost, it almost feels like you're talking to another person. Claude is perfect for that because the responses it gives you is much more conversational. It talks more like a human, which is
Mm.
not meant to be like a scary thing. It's just meant to be more of a comfort thing. Like if you're asking it a question, it's going to give you a more detailed response. It's going to give you a bit more information based off of the knowledge base that it has. And it's only updated to so far. Same thing with ChatGPT. It doesn't have the access to internet searches and stuff. But it's similar to Perplexity. You can upload if you have the paid version. I can't remember if you can do it on the free, but on the paid version, you have access to Cloud Projects where you can upload all different kinds of content and stuff. So you can use that as a knowledge base. You can ask it questions based off of that and have a conversation. And even the responses you get back are very conversational too. And one other thing, when I was doing that research for that client, talking about
Mm.
the labor costs and the sales and everything, I put that into Claude as well. And it even helped me create my own loyalty program as well because my client did. But I didn't want their data. I didn't want to put in like actual people's data or information. So I asked Claude to create for me. I gave it the fields, the information I was looking for, and just said, hey, randomly fill out all of these fields for me to help me create my own loyalty program. And then bam, 50 people, all made up, different information and everything. And then I was able to ask it questions like, okay, based off of this, going back to the information that we had with the costs and the sales and everything, how can we best use this? And then Claude goes, oh, here's how we can do this. Here's the value of it. Here's how you can explain it to your client. And here you go.
All right, excellent. Yeah, it sort of feels that currently we still have to switch from models to models, but we're early in the technology, so it seems that in the future we're gonna get a Google or a Apple of the large language models, and we'll have one that we'll be able to use for everything, right?
Eventually, I mean, yeah, right now everyone's still kind of battling it out, finding what their space is and staking their claim and stuff. But yeah, I'm sure eventually some giant will come out from it. And we don't know who it is yet. Could be anyone.
Mm. Yeah. Maybe ChatGPT is actually MySpace, right? Too soon, and
Could
someone else
be.
is gonna take it over. We'll
Could
see.
be.
Jason, if people want to talk to you about marketing or AI, where can they find you?
Yep. So you can just search my name on Facebook and LinkedIn. Those are the two most active social media platforms I'm on. Or feel free to visit our website, getsocialdone.com. There's a way to reach me and get a hold of me. I'd be happy to
Mhm.
help anyone who's interested.
All right, we'll add that into the show notes so that anyone can contact you. That's it. This is a short podcast. We bring you specific information from one topic, and then we don't waste your time. Jason, thank you very much for being on the podcast, and have a great day.
Peter, thank you so much.